on across much of England and Wales. We're talking gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour. I'll see you again soon.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
So I spent probably the best part of a year genning up on the world of self-publishing, making sure that I knew all the ropes. And then, but I mean, hand on heart, I really thought when I first published it that I'd probably sell about 30 copies and continue my day job. So it was a shock when it started to sell as well as it did.
The day job was being a school teacher, but you had a background as a script writer, a screenwriter, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I'd spent a long time working in TV as a script editor and then writing on series for the BBC and Holbein and EastEnders and The Bell. And then thought I'd change tact, go and be a secondary school teacher for a while, and just, I suppose, write a book and see what happened. And that was 5 years ago, and sort of haven't looked back since.
Well, just before we get to that, had you tried to go the normal route through an agent to a publisher?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first port of call, having worked a little bit in the business, was to bang on the doors of publishers and agents. And I just got a lot of polite no's. And I guess then I came across an article about self-publishing and thought, well, this is probably my last chance. So why not publish it and see let the readers decide whether they want to read my books. And yeah, luckily for me, they did.
Tell me a little bit about the agent system. I mean, for regular publishing or physical books, you pretty much have to go through an agent, don't you? And they have somewhat limited capacity. Is that not so?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you need a literary agent to represent you before you can even really knock on the door of a publisher with their help to try and get your book launched.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 13th of September. Live across the United Kingdom, this is Saturday Morning Live.
And to our top political story, is time running out for the Prime Minister, as The Guardian is suggesting this morning?
Yes, Angela Rayner's out, Lord Mandelson sacked, and now the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, reportedly launches a new campaign group to lay the groundwork for a potential leadership bid.
And can Sir Keir Starmer recover before Labour's annual party conference this month?
And in London, the Unite the Kingdom rally will march through the centre of the capital later today, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values. Our reporter Doogie Beattie is on the ground.
We're at Waterloo, where already thousands have gathered from right across the UK. But we do believe that the police are also having to gather from different forces right across the country. We'll have more throughout the programme.
My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children.
Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, has paid tribute overnight to her husband. We'll get the latest on her comments and the investigation as a suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, is in custody.
And there's been a flutter of visits to Kyiv this week, with the new Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper announcing sanctions against Russia, and Prince Harry visiting the Ukrainian capital with his Invictus Games Foundation.
The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next 2 hours. I'm Olivia Utley.
And I'm Charlie Peters, and your weekend starts here. Well, Olivia, hours before that rally in central London takes place, Dougie Beattie, they're surrounded by thousands already, it seems, at Waterloo. I've been speaking to friends this morning, based all across the capital, saying that at railway stations, they've already seen people pouring in.
And it's a rainy day this morning as well, and that rain is set to clear up over the course of the afternoon. So I think we're going to see a really, really lively day. Not to mention 5 different Premier League football matches going on as well. I wouldn't fancy being a police officer this morning.
It's a dark day for the Gold Command in the Metropolitan Police Service. Best wishes to you guys as you deal with that as well. And let's hope it is a peaceful demonstration because, of course, Olivia, there is a counter-protest against this gathering today.
And the Met Police is trying to keep those 2 different rallies apart, but London's not that big. Central London is certainly not that big, and there is definitely a risk that those 2 protests run into each other. So we could see some trouble on the streets of London this morning.
Last thing we want to see. But we will be on the ground. Dougie Beattie will be on the ground. GB News wants to speak to everyone involved in today's rally, regardless of your perspective. On the left, on the right, and if you're on either side as well, come and speak to us. And if you're at home not attending the rally and you want to talk to us about anything that we're covering today, you know the drill by now. Send your views, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say.
But before we do anything else, Aaron Armstrong has all your news headlines.
Thank you very much. Good morning to our headlines. It's emerged Downing Street was aware of damning emails between Lord Mandelson and the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before the Prime Minister defended him in the Commons on Wednesday. It's understood the Foreign Office passed details of the correspondence on to Number 10 on Tuesday, 2 days before Mandelson was sacked as British ambassador to the US for sending supportive messages as Epstein faced jail for sex offences. However, it's not clear if Sir Keir Starmer was aware of those details before he stood by Mr Mandelson at Prime Minister's questions. It comes as Sir Keir faces growing criticism amongst backbench MPs over his decision-making and handling of the scandal. It leaves Britain without a permanent ambassador to the US days before President Trump's state visit next week. Meanwhile, Andy Burnham is rumoured to be laying the groundwork for a leadership bid as speculation grows about Sir Keir Starmer's future. The Mayor of Greater Manchester has begun a campaign group calling on the Prime Minister to introduce wealth taxes and end the 2-child benefit cap. Now, he's expected to criticise the Prime Minister at Labour's conference later this month and is supporting Lucy Powell for the deputy leadership after her recent sacking from the Cabinet. The Prime Minister under mounting pressure following the departure of 2 senior government figures in the space of a week. The widow of Charlie Kirk has declared the movement the Conservative activist built in the US will not die with him. Kirk, the co-founder of the right-wing youth organisation Turning Point USA, was shot dead on Wednesday during an open-air speaking event in Utah. It was the first of the organisation's autumn tour of college campuses, which Ms Kirk has vowed to continue. The suspect, the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was turned into authorities by his father, who recognised pictures released by the FBI. He is expected to be charged on Tuesday. And in a defiant address from the organisation's headquarters in Arizona, Erica Kirk addressed her late husband's killer directly, saying his movement would continue.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. And this world, you have no idea. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
Well, hundreds of people attended a vigil for Charlie Kirk in London last night. Well, participants lit candles and sang Amazing Grace before concluding the ceremony with a moment of silence. The event, which began near Downing Street, was organised by the UK branch of Kirk's conservative organisation, Turning Point USA, and some of those attending explained why they were moved to go.
shouldn't be that we should live in a world where, you know, just for having an opinion you should be killed. I think that's abhorrent, and it's a really negative turn for Western civilization.
I like the Christian way of life. I wouldn't say I was a Christian, but I had a lot of respect for the man, and I agreed with a lot of what he had to say.
I would say his biggest legacy now will be millions and millions and millions of young people who will now see the light.
The UK will join Germany, France and Denmark in working to reinforce NATO's eastern flank. The move by the Defence Alliance comes after Russian drones violated Polish airspace on Tuesday. They were shot down by Polish and NATO forces. Secretary-General Mark Rutte says work will begin in the coming days. And it comes after visits to Ukraine by Prince Harry and the Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper in a demonstration of solidarity with Ukraine. Ms Cooper has announced a raft of 100 sanctions targeting Moscow's military and energy sectors. And details of the Duchess of Kent's funeral next week have been revealed. Her coffin will travel from Kensington Palace to Westminster Cathedral on Monday. That's a day before the funeral, for a series of private rites in keeping with Catholic tradition. It will be led by a military piper for the first few minutes of the journey. The Requiem Mass on Tuesday will be attended by the King and Queen, the first Catholic funeral service held for a member of the royal family in modern British history. Catherine died peacefully at home, surrounded by her family, aged 92, on the 4th of September. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 10:30.
Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and Olivia Utley.
Well, the Unite the Kingdom rally will march through central London later today, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values.
The rally will walk from Southwark to Whitehall, where a number of speakers are set to address the crowd.
Now, a counter-protest from Stand Up to Racism is also taking place, with more than 1,600 police officers deployed across London in a significant policing operation to cover a number of demonstrations and also football fixtures this weekend.
With us now live from Waterloo is GB News reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, the rally hasn't yet started, but I can see that the crowds are already coming in behind you. What's the mood on the ground like today?
Well, I've got to say, Olivia, Charlie, this is absolutely insane, the amount of flags here from right across the British Isles, never mind the UK. I mean, there's Scottish saltires here, there's Welsh flags, Northern Irish flags, St George's Cross, there's even American flags here.
Great again!
And you can tell they're already lively. I mean, there's even tricolours here, which shows really how the British Isles are pushing back against what they see as their culture being attacked. And we'll try and get a word with people here as we go through. Just come across here. Hello, sir. Hello, madam.
Hello.
Where are you from?
Worcester.
Why is you been inspired to come here?
I think it's the country's going to the toilet, isn't it? Everything bad's happening in the country, and we've got to stand for our rights, basically, freedom of speech.
Sorry, guys, we've had a bit of negative language there, rude language. Apologies for that. We obviously can't be taking that where possible. So we'll try and get back to Doogie when we can throughout the day. But if that language keeps coming in, we'll have to come away from that. So apologies if anyone was offended by that.
Well, Labour MPs are warning Sir Keir Starmer's leadership is faltering after a bruising week that saw Angela Rayner resign over a tax row and Lord Mandelson removed as ambassador to Washington. Now, the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has unveiled a new campaign group widely seen as laying the groundwork for a future leadership challenge. The Guardian's front page today says that Labour MPs are warning time is running out for the Prime Minister. MP for Batterslaw Jo White has issued her own pamphlet criticising the government over winter fuel payments. So, can Sir Keir reassert his grip, or is his time at the top already slipping away? Well, joining us now is the chief political commentator at The Independent, John Rentwell. John, a year ago, Sir Keir Starmer won this Labour victory with the most enormous majority. He was seen as unsinkable. Is it really possible that he could be gone by the spring? Talk us through how that could work.
No, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, what a turnout. as you say, he won nearly as big a majority as Tony Blair. And yet within 14 months, people are talking about him being gone by Christmas. It is extraordinary. And what's even more extraordinary is that all this is happening after Angela Rayner, who was seen as the main threat to his position, because, I mean, she was obviously waiting in the wings. She was someone who was very ambitious. She wanted his job and didn't hide it very well. But she's gone, and yet the talk has only intensified, and that really does tell you how deep the hole this government is in.
John, let's look at this campaign group that Andy Burnham has set up here, Mainstream. Now, it's quite interesting, isn't it, in terms of the MPs who are part of it. He's attracted support from both the left of the party, but also the influential and growing Blue Labour, socially conservative movement. This is looking more and more like an attempt to capture all wings of the Labour Party and sort of stage a coup.
Well, I think the Andy Burnham's pitch is essentially to the left of Keir Starmer. I mean, maybe there's an element of Blue Labour in there as well. But this is essentially trying to rerun the politics of the Ed Miliband years, and that wasn't particularly successful. So I'm very sceptical about this new group. I don't know if Andy Burnham actually set it up, but he's certainly supported it and associated himself with it, and he's sort of providing a focus for this deep unhappiness right across the party. I mean, I think there's one very fundamental problem with his pitch for the leadership, which is that he's not an MP, and to get to be an MP, he's got to fight a by-election. And I would have thought that in current circumstances, there is probably no seat in the country that Labour could win in a by-election. I think Reform would win almost any seat that Andy Burnham tries to fight.
And of course, he did promise as well. He pledged that he was going to see out his mayorship of Manchester until its natural end of term in 2028. So would he be letting down the people of Manchester if he chose to fight in a by-election? But can we just talk for a moment about Keir Starmer? Because obviously he was dealt a very difficult hand when he won the general election last July. Do you think he's played that hand badly, or has he just been unfortunate? There are people who are saying he really lacks political judgment. Do you think that's the problem?
I think that is part of the problem, but I think more of the problem is that he inherited a very, very difficult situation, and he went into that election without being entirely clear with the British people how difficult the decisions were going to have to be after the election. I mean, he did say, to his credit, he did say that there was that budget last year was going to be extremely painful, but then once that budget happened and Rachel Reeves put up taxes, he and Rachel Reeves sort of implied that that was the end of it and they wouldn't be coming back for more. And yet in November, Rachel Reeves is going to come back for more and roughly on the same scale. And people are going to find that hard to understand.
And John, there's also a lot of talk about the agenda growing against Morgan McSweeney as well, the PM's right-hand man. What's the plotting going on there? And what could that mean for Sir Keir Starmer's leadership?
It's absolutely classic, isn't it? I mean, before the Civil War in this country, opponents of the king criticise his advisors, and that's how politics works. You criticise the advisor, but what you're really getting at is the boss. So all these criticisms of Morgan McSweeney are really aimed at Keir Starmer. I mean, Keir Starmer has chosen Morgan McSweeney as his chief of staff, and therefore any criticisms of him are criticisms of the Prime Minister. But that's the way politics goes. I mean, getting rid of Morgan McSweeney would not solve Keir Starmer's problems.
What are the chances? Nigel Farage has said that he's preparing for a general election in 2027. Is that all bluster from the leader of Reform, or can you see any circumstances where there is an early general election?
No, I mean that's Nigel Farage getting some cheap and easy headlines because he hasn't. I mean, to be cruel, he hasn't got much else to say at this stage because I don't think his policy programme is properly worked out. But no, that is a reminder of the stakes, though. That if Keir Starmer fails, and there's nobody obvious to take over from him, then Nigel Farage will be Prime Minister. Not in 2027, I don't think, because obviously the Labour Party would hang on until the bitter end. But, that is the threat, that Nigel Farage will become Prime Minister at the end of this Parliament.
OK, John Rentoul, Chief Political Commentator at The Independent, thank you very much for your time this morning. Olivia, John Rentoul, usually a very cold, sober, calm analyst we bring on. There he was, making references to civil war in the question before, talking about the King's advisors. There we are.
Well, thank you, John. And still to come, Prince Harry's visit to Ukraine is certainly making the headlines. But is it for the right reasons? We'll be discussing that.
And next, we'll be going to discussions about Trump's state visit next week, because it's set to bring in billions of pounds of investment to the UK with a new trade deal in the works. We'll be finding out more about that in our paper review shortly, and we'll also be trying to get back some more footage from that protest in central London. Doogie's sending back some clips shortly. Stay with us here on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
What do you think is the origin of this palace not being loved by the royal family as a place to live?
Well, you see, it's a little bit like an Edwardian hotel in Brighton. It's all long corridors and rooms off them. It's not very friendly as a place, you know. So the Queen and Prince Philip occupied the rooms along the Constitution Hill side. She had half of them and he had the other half. And if ever they came out into a corridor, you know. So it's just not very friendly. And of course, the other thing is that the gardens are now terribly overlooked by the Hilton and other big buildings, whereas the King living at Clarence House, he has a very nice garden there and it's not overlooked at all. I mean, I have seen Prince Philip's rooms because I'd worked with his office a lot and I did a book about his mother, so I was there quite often. I haven't seen the Queen's rooms, but I'd love to see them.
Yes. And at the beginning of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the palace was not open to the public at all, was it?
No, it wasn't. And actually, she didn't want to go and live there either. She was living in Clarence House, but Churchill said that it was sovereign's residence and she had to move in. He forced her to move in. And that was quite tricky because the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret were still living there at the beginning. And then they moved into Clarence House a little while later, somewhat before the coronation. The only reason that the palace was open as a public tourist attraction was to make money to pay for the fire damage of 1992 at Windsor Castle. And that was so successful that the opening has gone on ever since, and it raises money for the Royal Collection Trust in order to look after all the treasures which are held by the sovereign for the nation.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now to look through the top stories of the day. We're delighted to be joined by commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and broadcaster and journalist Judita Da Silva. Thank you, Lara and Judita. I always do that wrong. Lara, I'm going to start with you. So we've got this Trump state visit to the UK, and there's going to be big investment in the UK. This visit, good for our country?
I think so. This is coming at a very difficult time for Starmer. We're looking at a multi-billion-pound tech deal, which could be really good for the economy. It could finally be something to kickstart things like Rachel has been praying for a year. But it was negotiated by Mandelson, mostly with Vance. And obviously Mandelson has just gone in something which can be very embarrassing for Starmer, very embarrassing for Trump. So the question is, can Starmer get things back on track? Can he make sure Trump has a good time here and get that deal signed?
Because, of course, Judita, Mandelson described Epstein as his personal pride and joy. And in the FT, that's the front column in their discussion of these trade deals. clearly that hangover from his removal from office is going to continue to potentially blight the state visit.
Yes and no, because remember that there is always the burgeoning issue around Trump's association to Epstein. So Trump is savvy enough, with savvy enough people around him, to know that a kind of public distancing of yourself against someone who is basically being crucified for an Epstein association will help him.
Yeah, but it's awkward that it's even in the news, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, really, really tricky for Trump coming.
It is very tricky, but I think that that's probably the way the Americans will play it, because they so need to distance him from Epstein that someone who has been seen to be his friend and wooed his way into Trump's graces, he's willing to distance himself from because he condemns Epstein. It's all about the politics of optics.
But the problem for Donald Trump is, as much as he tries and as often he does, he doesn't actually set the news agenda, does he? A lot of the British press, I think, will be going pretty strong on that connection, and they will relish in the opportunity to make things uncomfortable for Sir Keir Starmer and the President when they are gathering together.
Yeah, this is the tricky thing on lots of levels. So we can be pretty sure that while Trump is here for the next week, Epstein's going to be on the front page over and over again. And the question is, will that focus on Epstein bring up questions about whether Trump's relationship with Epstein was very different to Mandelson's? We don't know that it was. So I think Trump is going to be quite unhappy with the UK media. They sent someone to America that brought that problem up for him, and that they have a state visit timed so badly with this scandal. So, yeah, I mean, awkward is a way to sum it up.
I don't know if he can actually play that, because the way I saw it, when we first talked about Mandelsson, I thought that it was a genius selection, because he's very good at dealing with bad situations and finding his way through it. And when you look at that birthday book, it essentially was the depiction, the manifestation of an old boys club, because there's a distinct tone that everyone was kind of aware of who Epstein was. And it was kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So part of the reason why he could get into good graces with Trump where they thought he couldn't is because they're both of the Epstein crew. So there's probably conversations we will never know about where they spoke and understood language that it's a secret between brothers.
OK, well, these are allegations. I mean, we don't know. In fact, this is just purely speculation. But one thing we do know is happening is that Clive Lewis, in reaction to a bit of the furore coming out of this, Labour MP, has become the first Labour MP to question the PM's future as a consequence of this controversy surrounding Lord Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Lara, this is a very difficult moment for Sir Keir Starmer, because his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, appears to have been one of the people defending very closely the former, now British ambassador to Washington. How does he wiggle his way out of this crisis?
This is tricky for him. I would say on the Clive Lewis thing, Clive Lewis is one of the sort of most agitated MPs at the moment about the government. He would have always been the first person to come out and say Starmer needs to go.
But it is more than Clive Lewis, isn't it? Even among MPs, there is definitely admiration for Andy Burnham. It sounds as though Lucy Powell, who was obviously sacked from the government benches last week, she is running to be deputy leader of the party. There will be people who support her. There are murmurings, aren't there? And those murmurings are surely set to increase as we head into party conference season.
There definitely are. Lucy Powell's made a statement already saying that the party got it wrong, and saying that Mandy should have been fired much earlier. So, yeah, and the fact they're about to have a leadership contest where this is all hashed out and where Andy Burnham can weigh in and support one of the candidates and push his line means that Starmer's in real trouble. And finally, the left of the party have something over Starmer. They've got proper proof that this isn't a principled man. He's going to have a bad conference.
Really bad conference. And then, of course, we've got the budget coming up in just a few weeks' time. Is there anything that Rachel Reeves can do at this budget to... Keir Starmer's top priority in the election campaign was to get growth going. Growth is at zero. Is there anything Rachel Reeves can do to fix it?
That point you make is probably going to be the one salvation, which then circles back to the point about Trump's visit. Part of it, even though it's meant to be kind of a celebration and something more pastoral, people are capitalizing it on doing a lot of tech deals. Tech is a secret weapon to stimulating growth because you're bringing in foreign direct investment. What they can parlay that into being that we promised you growth, now it's coming, here's the proof, and here's where the money's coming from. That is the one secret weapon she could have.
Talking about Andy Burnham, there's a comment here from Frank on gbnews.com/your say, saying that people might misunderstand or overestimate the popularity of Andy Burnham. Talking about the turnout for the mayoral position, less than a third of the electorate. And it's quite a strange position, isn't it, this Metro Mayor? They're quite modern inventions. And, I mean, Laura, do you think that there's a chance that Andy Burnham might be getting a little bit too confident at this stage, and that people in the Labour movement might be saying to him, steady on, Andy, you're not actually even an MP, let alone the god you think you are, ready to challenge this elected government with a tremendous majority?
Metro mayors have very little power, but obviously Andy Burnham's appeal extends beyond his position. He's been a big figure in the media for a long time now, and he's become emblematic of the entire left's falling out with Starmer and that conflict, and I think he will lead that. I think two things are true at once here. Andy Burnham can be a very big problem for Starmer. He can influence this leadership contest. He can encourage MPs to make statements. We can see from this reshuffle that Starmer wants his friends out. That's been a very clear trend. But Andy Burnham also isn't about to become PM, which I'm seeing this morning in some of the papers. He's not an MP.
Just
he's
practically
not going to win a by-election. He's not going to be given a by-election, and Labour are not about to win any by-elections anytime soon. Not with those
What's
polls.
his motivation here, then? Just to sort of ruffle some feathers and to get some support up for a leadership election down the line, perhaps?
I think we shouldn't underestimate the scale of the personal feud between Burnham and Starmer, which has now been going on for a long time. There is no love lost between those two, and I think if Burnham can make life difficult for Starmer, he would do that as an end in itself. But he's clearly got ambitions. You've seen that at conference every year for a long time now. This man wants to get back in. He wants to get into the Commons, and he wants to see himself as leader at some point.
What I find sort of fascinating about all of this is the way that it feels as though Starmer is just being squeezed on both sides. You've got Andy Burnham on the left, you've got the unions. I've been at the TUC conference this week. They are furious. They want the workers' rights bill to go through in full. On the other side, you've got businesses who are very worried about Reeves's sort of lacklustre approach to growth. It feels as though he's being squeezed.
No, he definitely is being squeezed, and it's going to get to a point for critical mass for Starmer, definitely. But that point you made actually did resonate with me about Andy Burnham needs to be careful, because first of all, what you're going to look at what's happening with the Tories. You do not want Labour to descend into a coalition of the disgruntled, and then everyone just sees it as more of the same. The universal condemnation of the entire political landscape is it's same old, same old. What you need to be doing is consolidating all the elements of Labour that are popular. That is how you move into the next election, because I've said it's going to be a battle of true right versus true left.
Speaking of the elements of Labour that are popular, I think that's increasingly becoming a tough find for this government. Their popularity levels are plummeting. And, of course, today we've got this protest going on in central London, Unite the Kingdom. Now, based on what we've seen in terms of people expected to attend that, I met plenty of people last night at this vigil for Charlie Kirk in Whitehall. I don't think there's going to be a lot of love lost for the Prime Minister and the Labour government at that protest. Is that a sign of the growing discontent, do you think, Lara, among the general public towards Sir Keir Starmer and his government?
I think the fact that incidents like this across the country, peaceful protests, some violent riots, a lot of sort of social media criticism are becoming frequent almost every day is proof that Starmer is out of touch with the electorate. He's not popular anymore, and people feel completely betrayed by a promise of a future that just hasn't come to pass.
And Juditha, of course, the government will push back very strongly on this, but when you go to these protests, and I've been to several over the summer as well, kind of aligned with these people protesting against the asylum hotels, one of the main criticisms they make is about two-tier justice and concerns that different issues are handled differently by the government. Now, they're making this stand as the government concedes that they're not very good at communicating their messages. Do you think they've got any chance of reaching out to these people?
They do have a chance of reaching out to them, because it's two things. One problem is that what you've got within this protest, it's a combination of extremists and people with genuine concerns. When you cannot distinguish between the two, you've got a government that has to present itself as, yes, we condemn far-right activists, but when they're standing side by side with legitimate people, how do we address it? It is then, the onus is then again on the people to distinguish yourselves from what you do not agree with and present your argument in such a way that you can be engaged with directly.
And perhaps the onus is also on the government not to label everyone as far right with that blanket, because that's the mistake that they're making clearly.
Think about how politics is. If it's an entire bank of people, you're addressing an entire bank of people. If there are evil people next to decent people, what do? They occupy the same space. Well, you have to distinguish yourself.
During the pro-Palestine marches right after the war started, when there were members who were pro-Hamas and that, you described them all as pro-Hamas marches, didn't you, Juditha?
I wouldn't say pro-Hamas.
Well, of course you wouldn't, so it contradicts your point.
No, because people do stand up and say that we are not about that. If you are genuinely talking about the freedom of innocent people,
You've just said if there are extremist voices in a group,
you cannot brand the protest, because I've been in those protests myself, and you do not say that people who are saying save innocent lives in Gaza are pro-Hamas. I am being consistent.
You're not.
We do the work of distinguishing ourselves from people who are pro-terrorism, and because we are pro-life, that is not the same thing.
Work of it indeed. But thank you, Laura and Judith. We've got to move on now. Still to come, Charlie Kirk's widow has spoken out overnight. We'll get the latest on her tribute.
But first, your latest news headlines from Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks. Good morning to you. Our headlines. Downing Street officials were aware of damning correspondence between Lord Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein when Sir Keir Starmer defended the peer during Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. Mr Mandelson was sacked a day later after emails detailing his support for the convicted sex offender were published. Andy Burnham's thought to be preparing for a leadership bid amid speculation Sir Keir Starmer won't last until the next election. The Mayor of Greater Manchester has launched a new campaign group calling on the Prime Minister to introduce wealth taxes and nationalise utility companies. Erica Kirk, the widow of Conservative activist Charlie Kirk, has vowed to continue her late husband's work, saying his voice and legacy will remain. His suspected killer, Tyler Robinson, remains in custody following a 33-hour manhunt that ended when his father convinced him to surrender. A large police presence has been deployed in central London, where thousands of people are gathering for a so-called Unite the Kingdom march. Organisers described it as a free speech festival. The Metropolitan Police has urged Muslim Londoners not to change their plans. And the UK, along with Germany, France and Denmark, are to begin work on bolstering NATO's eastern flank. The move by the Defence Alliance comes after Russian drones violated Polish airspace on Tuesday. That's it for the moment. A full bulletin for you at 11 o'clock.
Good morning, happy Saturday. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now today's going to be a showery day, but tomorrow, that's when we're going to have some heavier rain and some stronger winds. Now starting off, we do have some fairly frequent heavy showers across parts of the southeast. They're going to clear away, and then really through the rest of the day, it's a case of showers piling in from the west. Now some of the showers will be heavy. There could be some rumbles of thunder, the odd flash of lightning, even a bit of small hail, and they're going to become more widespread, feeding further eastwards through the day. There should, however, be some sunny spells in between the showers, and the winds are going to be a touch lighter than yesterday, but still a bit of a fresher feel than you might expect for the time of year. Then as we go through into this evening, well, across much of Scotland, it's staying showery, and some of those showers still could be quite heavy, and there's still the risk of a bit of thunder. A similar story across much of Northern Ireland and much of northern England, also down the western side, so across parts of Wales and southwest England, some fairly frequent showers. But actually across central, eastern, southeastern parts, one or two showers are possible, but by the end of the day, it's actually looking largely dry here. And then through the night, many places seeing the showers clearing away and fizzling out, except across some parts of northern England, some showery bursts continuing here. Where we get dry, clear weather, well, it is going to turn a bit fresh for some of us. Temperatures dropping into the low, possibly mid-single figures in some rural spots, even towns and cities dropping into single digits. And as a result, there could be some mist, some fog around in a few places first thing tomorrow morning. Then, across parts of the southwest, things are going to turn cloudy through the morning. Also across Northern Ireland, the winds will pick up before a band of rain sweeps its way through. Now this rain's going to be quite heavy, and it's going to push its way northeastwards across the whole country as we go through the day. The winds are going to continue to strengthen. In fact, the strongest winds will be later on across much of England and Wales. We're talking gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour. I'll see you again soon.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, Prince Harry was in Kyiv yesterday at the invitation of an organisation called Superhumans.
He made the trip with his Invictus Games Foundation, saying he wants to do everything possible to support the recovery of injured military staff.
Now, the Duke of Sussex encouraged those servicemen to open up to their friends and family about the issues they're facing.
Well, with us now is the former chief foreign correspondent for the Sunday Telegraph, Colin Freeman. Now, Colin, how's that trip of Prince Harry's going down in Ukraine? Is he there for the right reasons?
Yeah, I would think it's going down reasonably well. I'm not quite sure how well known the royal family are in Ukraine. Obviously, they've got other things to worry about at the moment, but and anything at the moment that keeps their plight in the public eye is very, very much welcome from their point of view. I do know there has been concern ongoing, and it's particularly at the moment that people in the West are beginning to forget about the war, partly because the peace talks that have been brokered by President Trump haven't really got anywhere. So yes, and anything that keeps the plight of the Ukrainians and all the injured service people in the memories of people back in the West is certainly welcome. I was there in a couple of years ago when the Queen died. In Kiev, and I was asked, like, are you feeling okay? How are you coping with this bereavement? They do have a sense that the royal family is very, very closely in the hearts of most British people, perhaps more close than it actually is for a lot of folk.
Colin, very interesting hearing from the Duke of Sussex describing the process he went through to get out to Kyiv. When he detailed who he had to speak to get approval, he said, I checked with my wife and then I checked with the British government and then the invitation came through. That's an interesting order of march, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, obviously travelling to Kiev is not without its risks, especially if you're a VIP. There was probably always the worry that the Kremlin might try and send a missile in to greet anyone like that as they step off the train. It's that particular train trip. I've done it many times myself. You can't fly to Kiev because the airspace is closed. And the Ukrainians are quite canny about it. They create a special VIP section on the train, and it's about an 8-hour overnight journey, and they use it as what they call train diplomacy. They kind of make the trip as pleasant and as comfortable as it can possibly be for whoever it is, whether it's Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, or President Macron, or indeed Prince Harry. You're served special food on the train, Ukrainian food. You're generally schmoozed and wined and dined. And also, as you saw in that brief clip, they put up a little sign for his arrival saying Super Royal Express. It's quite a canny little operation to make people really, really, root for the Ukrainian cause while they're there, rather than just being sat with a British Royal pork pie or whatever, which might be what happened in this country.
Is there something a bit hypocritical about Prince Harry talking a lot about how dangerous it would be for him to come to the UK without, full bodyguards, etc., and then going off to Ukraine?
I think the difference here is that nobody's expecting him to go, and also he's not going to get chased around by paparazzi or anybody else in Ukraine. Most
might
people
get chased around by bullets, though, right?
It's unlikely. I mean, you could be unlucky and be in Kiev when a missile struck, but I think that's a risk that he's prepared to take. It is a sort of lightning strike sort of risk. It's a big city, so that's clearly a calculated gamble. It probably doesn't do any harm among his followers and his fans, supporters of Prince Harry, to see him travelling to places that are sort of still considered war zones. Yeah.
And Colin, obviously the Foreign Secretary, newly in her post, Yvette Cooper, travelling on that same train that you were describing, being schmoozed with Ukrainian cuisine. Do you think it's interesting that she's gone there so early on in the job, reaffirming the British support for Ukraine? And does it also recognise the fact that there might be dwindling domestic support for that continued support?
Yeah, I mean, how much the domestic support here over the wider course of the last 3 years has remained pretty constant. There's been no sort of serious sea change on that. Yvette Cooper, when she was there was a new package of sanctions unveiled by the British government against lots of Russian firms involved in shipping illegal Russian oil, so-called ghost ships to India and other countries. That all sounds very well. The problem is none of these ghost ships are being stopped and challenged while they're sailing through the Baltic Sea and so on. And so if you have sanctions that are not actually being enforced, it's not really sending out much of a message, to be honest.
OK, Colin Freeman, foreign correspondent, former foreign correspondent for the Sunday Telegraph. Thank you very much for your time this morning. And Olivia, I think we'll be going back to domestic matters after the break, returning to that march in central London, which I know a lot of the audience are very engaged with. A lot of our viewers and listeners writing in this morning about that.
Absolutely, and we're going to have some interviews with our reporter on the ground, Doogie Beattie. If you are there at the march, then please do go and talk to Doogie, very friendly, and we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, and still to come on the programme today.
My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children.
We'll get the latest on Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica. Powerful tribute that she made overnight. A suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, is in custody. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Whilst the weather across the UK is going to be very unsettled tomorrow, it's a different story across many southern parts of Europe. Lots of fine and at times sunny weather around, a few showery bursts fringing into both the northwest of Spain and also some far eastern parts, a few showery outbreaks for Italy and some heavy showery rain towards parts of Greece and into Croatia. But otherwise it's generally going to be dry for most and with some decent sunshine, feeling very warm indeed. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, it's 10:46 and you're watching Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and Olivia Rutley. Now, the Unite the Kingdom rally will march through central London later today, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values.
The rally will walk from Southwark to Whitehall, where a number of speakers are set to address the crowd.
Now, a counter-protest from Stand Up to Racism is also taking place, with more than 1,600 police officers deployed across the capital in a significant operation to cover a number of demonstrations and football fixtures this weekend.
Doogie Beattie has been speaking to those at the rally.
Fed up with the way the country's going, lack of freedom of speech and the flooding of the waters by the foreigners coming in on boats. And
I have to come and support the event, uniting the whole country, bringing everybody together, bringing the 4 nations together. That's why I dress up and then come and support. I'll be integrated, so I have to respect the culture, the people, and then good governance.
Culture's getting wiped out. We need to stand. Definitely.
And what would you like to see? What would you like to see being put first?
A new government. Can't beat that one.
So that's a few scenes from that rally this morning. I mean, it's yet to start, really, the proper rally, but for the moment, it looks like very kind of cheerful. Lots of different types of people there today. Certainly not kind of football hooligans, as some areas of the press were branding it.
Well, there's busy fixtures on today, of course. That's what they'll be saying. They're all elsewhere. No, I'm teasing, of course. No, but it is an interesting gathering, isn't it? Because there's a lot of build-up to this. We've got a live picture for you now of people gathering. And look at that top line on the back of that hoodie, Olivia. We love our country. What's been so interesting about this protest and the descriptions I've seen of it online is the organisers and those associated with it describing it in as positive terms as possible. And while there is a lot of anger in this country and people do want political change, be they left or right, they also just want to say that, you know, we've got something to be proud of in this country. We've got something that we should be grateful for and fighting for. And that's been, we're seeing all these flags in the shot right now. This march is coming right at the back of a significant protest operation to bring loads of flags all over the country as well.
Well, absolutely. I'll be really interested to see how the Labour Party, Keir Starmer and his government, deals with this rally when it's talked about next week. Obviously, we've had these very bizarre clips from people like Yvette Cooper claiming that she has flags flying in her flat, which, to be honest, I struggle to believe. But I think the Labour Party is going to have to work out what their line is on this. Is the flag something to be ashamed of? Is it something to be proud of? What will Labour members make of it all too?
Yes, indeed. I think I just heard that man there speaking to our reporter, Doogie. We'll go back to in a moment for sure. I think I just heard him say, I'm from Burnley. And that really points to the fact people have travelled all over the country to get down there today. Well, let's move on now into the United States because the manhunt is over in the search for the suspect for the murder of Christian conservative activist Charlie Kirk. And he has been named.
Yes, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was arrested after being persuaded by his father to hand himself in after a 33-hour search for Charlie's killer.
Now, in an emotional statement overnight, Charlie's widow, Erica, shared her first comments since her husband's killing.
My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is US political commentator Hilary Fordich. Now, Hilary, Charlie Kirk was incredibly popular among lots of very young people. Young people he was really on their radar. What impact is this going to have on young people in the US, and what impact will it have on their politics?
Well, thank you for having me, Olivia. Good to be back with you. And Charlie, a few things here. With regard to the youth, yes, Charlie was just 31. He actually didn't attend university because he was bored right at the very beginning, and he was so inspired with what he saw was the conservative direction that the United States should go in versus the very, very, I would say, sort of liberal teachings and the leftist views that permeate most of the universities here. So what he decided to do was, yes, go to all of the university campuses across this nation and speak to youth. And he wasn't, as some of the more left-leaning media had tried to portray him before all of this happened, they tried to portray him as sort of radical and right-wing. If you watch any of his interviews, he was very calm, very logical, very understanding of his generation, and would talk to them with logic and sense about what it meant to be a conservative. And he also, by the way, it wasn't just this side of the Atlantic. I urge every one of the GB News viewers to look at what he was talking about with regard to England, the Great Britain, and the heritage, and how wonderfully highly he thought of the UK and where he saw the UK going. But last but not least, in terms of what it means, one of the things that was very important last night from Erica's speech was she really talked about the fact that they, meaning at that point they didn't necessarily have the assassin, she said they think they've silenced his voice, but all they've done is strengthened it. And I will say, I know people at Turning Point, and the donations are pouring in. They've never seen so many donations. So to answer that part of your question, I would say this has been inspiration for many, including many who weren't necessarily on the right or as conservative and are now inspired by his message.
And Hilary, I mean, I remember 10 years ago when Charlie Kirk was starting up. He's a couple of years older than me, and I found him inspirational in how he engaged with people, his style of debate. And what's also interesting is that he's actually rather moderate in the American conservative scene. Right. A lot of liberals who were denigrating those celebrating his assassination pointed out, saying, "You idiots. He was one of the good guys on the right. You know, he was a voice that stopped people falling into sort of conspiracy theory traps or going off the deep end with murkier right-wing views. He actually gave people a calm, sensible, moderate, conservative Christian message. That's going to be a great loss to the right-wing movement, not only in the United States, but around the world."
Yes, absolutely. You know, I actually take rather umbrage with people calling it right wing when all you want is, law and order, your own country, your own culture, to work hard, pay taxes, and to live a nice life. I don't see, but that's being portrayed now, as you say, so aptly. It's being portrayed as so right wing. He was a very, yes, indeed, moderate, I think just sensible voice. And that's why he was so effective across campuses here in the United States. And as I mentioned, he was at Oxford in England. He was trying to say, be so proud of your British heritage. Our nation was formed on the great values of a British nation. Be proud. And I think he resonated with your generation and the generation that he was at university currently, because yes, indeed, he was moderate, he was sensible, and he had something logical to say in terms of how to live your life. He was very pro-family, pro-marriage, pro-children as well.
Well, thank you very much, Hilary. A very fitting tribute there to Charlie Kirk, who was killed. Lots more to come this morning on Saturday Morning Live, including more on the top stories. But now to the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's staying fairly unsettled through the course of today. There will once again be a mixture of sunshine and showers. Some of those will be heavy and pretty blustery, but generally tending to ease down a little bit later today. So we've still got low pressure in charge, centred to the north of the UK, but bringing in a flow of winds from the Atlantic, and these weather fronts will bring a focus for showers through this afternoon. Not everyone will see them, but there will be quite a number of them about once again. Some of those showers will be fairly heavy with the risk of some thunder, particularly further east as we go into this afternoon, perhaps easing somewhat towards the west. And it will still be quite blustery in those showers, so making it feel fairly cool as those showers come along. But in the best of the sunshine, temperatures once again 17 to 19 degrees, quite close to average for the time of year. So by this evening, the showers will starting to be becoming a little bit more isolated in the south. So there will actually be some fairly reasonable spells of sunshine to end the day across southern parts of England. For North Wales and North West England, there may well be more of a focus of showers this evening. So some more prolonged, heavier downpours, and again, still the chance of some thunder, as it will be across Scotland. Pretty unsettled to end the day here with a fair number of showers right the way through this evening and perhaps into the first part of tonight as well. But as we go into the early hours of Sunday morning, the skies will generally tend to clear, the showers will fade away, and many places will become dry. So it is going to turn into a pretty chilly night. In actual fact, we could even see a touch of frost in some rural areas, particularly across northern Scotland, lows in the countryside here down to freezing perhaps in some of the glens, and even in the south, in the countryside, lows of 3 or 4 degrees perhaps in a few spots. But a lovely bright start to the day on Sunday. Lots of sunshine further east. The cloud fairly quickly thickening though from the west, and you'll notice this band of rain and strengthening winds pushing in from the Atlantic quite quickly through the morning in the west, and some heavy bursts of rain by the afternoon. Winds strengthening with Irish Sea gales and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 11 a.m. on Saturday, the 13th of September, live across the United Kingdom. This is Saturday Morning Live.
To our top political story, is time running out for the Prime Minister, as The Guardian is suggesting this morning? Angela Rayner out, Lord Mandelson sacked, and now Mayor of Greater Manchester Andy Burnham reportedly launches a new campaign group to lay the groundwork for a leadership bid.
So can Sir Keir Starmer recover before Labour's annual conference later this month?
And the Unite the Kingdom rally will march through central London later today, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values. Our reporter Doogie Beattie is on the ground.
Thousands have turned out here from right across the British Isles. Flags on display from Scotland, Wales, England, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. They're here to protest that their culture is being eroded. We'll have more throughout the programme.
My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children.
Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, they're paying tribute overnight to her husband. We'll get the latest on her comments and the ongoing investigation as 22-year-old suspect Tyler Robinson is in custody.
And in a fresh blow for the Chancellor ahead of the autumn budget, new figures show that the UK economy saw zero growth in July, following the biggest contraction in manufacturing output for a year. Will President Trump's state visit bring better news of investment? We'll learn more shortly.
The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next hour. I'm Charlie Peters.
And I'm Olivia Rutley, and your weekend starts here. Well, you can see that rally is just beginning to take off. I think it's going to officially start at 1 o'clock. All sorts of people on the streets of London today. You can see some of them in the background there. Certainly not just a group of football hooligans. Really interesting to hear what our reporter Doogie has to say.
Yeah, the official start time means nothing, I think, at this point. I mean, thousands have been coming in from the very early hours this morning, and I can bring you some live shots to you now. Look at this. I mean, that is a deep set of crowds, and look at the flags as well, Olivia, pointing to what Doogie was saying. It's not just about the United Kingdom as well. I think there's a Kiwi flag there as well, and there's also all sorts of banners there. The Republic of Ireland as well, and the Royal Standard. I don't realise perhaps a member of the royal family is joining Tommy Robinson at the march today. That'd be very interesting, wouldn't it?
Lots of people saying that they're going to the march today, having never been on a march before. So it's not just kind of political activists. It's not the kind of same old crowd. People saying that it's going to be the biggest free speech rally of its kind in the UK, and of course lots of counter protests too. So a dramatic day in the capital.
Yes, indeed. And the people in the high-vis, they're not police officers, organisers helping to keep the peace, and that's exactly what they want. We want to hear the voices of those in attendance. Our reporter Doogie Beattie on the ground all day, speaking to those from whatever perspective. Tell us why you're marching today. And if you're not heading down, you're staying with GB News, then we'd love to hear from you as well. Send your views, post your comments. You know how to do it now. gbnews.com/your say.
But before we do anything else, Aaron Armstrong has all your news headlines.
Thank you very much indeed. Good morning to you. Our headlines. It's emerged Downing Street was aware of potentially damning emails between Lord Mandelson and the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before the Prime Minister defended him in the Commons on Wednesday. Now, it's understood the Foreign Office passed details of the correspondence onto Number 10 on Tuesday, 2 days before Mr Mandelson was sacked as British ambassador to the US for sending supportive messages as Epstein faced jail for sex offences. However, it's not clear if Sir Keir Starmer was aware of the detail before he stood by Mr Mandelson at PMQs. It comes as Sir Keir Starmer faces growing criticism amongst backbench MPs over his decision-making and handling of the scandal. It leaves Britain without a permanent ambassador to the US days before President Trump arrives for a state visit next week. Andy Burnham is rumoured to be laying the groundwork for a leadership challenge as speculation grows about Sir Keir Starmer's future. The Mayor of Greater Manchester has started a campaign group calling on the Prime Minister to introduce wealth taxes and end the two-child benefit cap. He's expected to criticise Mr Starmer at Labour's conference later this month. The Prime Minister is under mounting pressure following the departure of two senior government figures in the space of a week. The widow of Charlie Kirk has declared the movement the Conservative activist built in the US will not die with him. Kirk, the co-founder of the right-wing youth organisation Turning Point, was shot dead in Utah on Wednesday. It was the first in his organisation's autumn tour of college campuses, which Miss Kirk has vowed to continue. The suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was turned into authorities by his father, who recognised pictures released by the FBI. Mr Robinson is expected to be charged on Tuesday. In a defiant address from the organisation's headquarters in Arizona, Erica Kirk addressed her late husband's killer directly.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
Well, hundreds of people attended a vigil for Charlie Kirk in London last night. Participants lit candles and sang Amazing Grace before concluding the ceremony with a moment of silence. The event near Downing Street was organised by the UK branch of Kirk's Conservative organisation. Some of those explained why they were moved to attend.
It shouldn't be that we should live in a world where, just for having an opinion you should be killed. I think that's abhorrent, and it's a really negative turn for Western civilization.
I like the Christian way of life. I wouldn't say I was a Christian, but I had a lot of respect for the man, and I agreed with a lot of what he had to say.
I would say his biggest legacy now will be millions and millions and millions of young people who will now see the light.
A large police presence has been deployed in central London, where thousands of people are gathering for a so-called Unite the Kingdom march. Organisers are describing it as a free speech festival which will promote traditional British values. A counter-protest, dubbed March Against Fascism, organised by Stand Up to Racism, is also going to take place. The Metropolitan Police has urged Muslim Londoners not to change their plans. The UK will join Germany, France and Denmark in reinforcing NATO's eastern flank. The move by the Defence Alliance comes after Russian drones violated Polish airspace on Tuesday. Those drones were shot down. The work is expected to start in the coming days. It comes after visits to Ukraine by Prince Harry and the Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper in a show of solidarity with the country. Ms Cooper announced a raft of 100 sanctions targeting Moscow's military and energy sectors. And the Duchess of Kent's funeral details next week have been revealed. Her coffin will travel from Kensington Palace to Westminster Cathedral on Monday, a day before the funeral, for a series of private rites in keeping with Catholic tradition. And the Requiem Mass on Tuesday will be attended by the King and Queen, the first Catholic funeral service held for a member of the royal family in British history, modern British history, I should say. Catherine died peacefully at home, surrounded by her family, on September the 4th. She was 92 years old. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 11:30.
Thank you, Aaron, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and me, Olivia Utley.
Now, the Unite the Kingdom rally will march through central London later today, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values.
The rally will walk from Southwark to Whitehall, where a number of speakers are set to address the crowd.
Now, a counter-protest from Stand Up to Racism is also taking place, with more than 1,600 police officers deployed across the capital. They're covering football fixtures and a number of demonstrations.
Well, with us now live is GB News reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, who have you been speaking to this morning?
We've been speaking to people in the crowds here, Olivia, and you know, the feeling here around this is actually insane. There are thousands and thousands of people stretching right down from Waterloo, right up round the roundabout behind us, right down past the Children's Hospital at the back of us. If we could just get a look there, Ollie, and see the amount of flags and how many people are actually here. And these flags are from right across the British Isles, not just the UK. If you look closely there, you will see Union Jacks, St George's Cross, Scottish Saltires, the Northern Irish flag, the Welsh flag, and surprisingly the tricolour, because of course in the Republic of Ireland they are thinking their freedom of speech and culture is also being eroded. It's causing a huge problem there, and earlier on we spoke to a few of the people that were attending this.
I'm fed up with the way the country's going, the lack of freedom of speech and the flooding of the waters by the foreigners coming in on boat.
I have to come and support the event, uniting the whole country, bringing everybody together, bringing the 4 nations together. That's why I dress up and then come and support. I'll be integrated, so I have to respect the culture, the people, and then good governance.
Culture is getting wiped out. We need to stand. Definitely.
And what would you like to see? What would you like to see being put first?
A new government. Can't beat that one.
Well, you can hear from that. People have all different sorts of ethnic minorities are here, so it's not a racist parade. This is right across the country. People basically saying we want our culture to come first. We want our rights to come first. And of course, the last few weeks we have seen about the flying of the St George's flag really being shunned and the government trying to really restrict that flying. Of course, we've seen that in Northern Ireland by Tony Blair's government back in the 1990s, and now it doesn't fly from any government building, so it's quite good to see it actually in here, in amongst the rest of the flags, and surprisingly it's flying right alongside the tricolour of the Republic of Ireland. So people here want their freedom of speech, they want the boats to stop, they want their culture to be put first, and they want their own rights first. They don't mind anybody coming into the country. It's been said to me again and again, but they want their culture to come first, the British culture. And this, by the time it reaches Whitehall, if numbers are to be looked at now, you know, this is going to be an absolutely huge parade.
Looking at the people attending there, obviously there's going to be a counter demonstration as well, with the group Stand Up to Racism describing itself as an anti-fascist organisation. They say that they're targeting Tommy Robinson. They're describing it as Tommy Robinson's March. What do you make of that? Is that what you're hearing on the ground as well? And are people expecting those counter protests to be on the route?
Well, I have actually came to this march to find out what is the political thinking of the people inside this march. Not all are Tommy Robinson supporters. There's no doubt about it. Tommy Robinson has obviously put his organisational skills to bring this forward, but we're not talking about working class areas of Britain here. There are many, many people inside here that are middle class people, some school teachers, etc., all inside here, and they all have complaints that are being brought together under one umbrella. I will be watching today to see Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib. Do they try to bring Tommy Robinson into the political circle? And that is a big watch for me. That happened with unionist parties again back in the 80s and 90s in Northern Ireland. Some it worked out for, some it didn't. We watched Jeremy Corbyn do exactly the same thing, bring on to the left-hand side of his party, but it doesn't make you electorally secure. So that will be the big thing for me here today, to watch, is Tommy Robinson going to join with some of the politicians here, and will the crowds follow him?
Well, thank you very much, Doogie Beattie, and we will be hearing more from Doogie throughout the programme. But now, let's turn to the economy, and Chancellor Rachel Reeves has been dealt another blow ahead of the autumn budget. Yeah, new figures show that the British economy saw zero growth in July, following the biggest contraction in manufacturing output for a year. But perhaps it's not all bad news. There are reports that 2 of the world's biggest tech companies will announce billions of pounds of new investment into Britain during President Trump's state visit next week. Well, joining us now is business commentator Michael Wilson. Now, Michael, I was on the election campaign trail last year. Keir Starmer said again and again that economic growth was his top priority, his first mission. And yet we're 14 months in and growth is at zero. What's gone wrong?
Well, the problem is that it's very, very difficult to compile those figures. Nobody has ever enjoyed compiling the GDP figures, and yes, the growth was 0 for July. The Office for National Statistics would prefer to project that over 3 months. Still, the growth at 0.2 to 0.4%. It's very, very tiny indeed. We are bumping along the bottom. The problem is, I think we're in the pre-budget speculation silly season, and that'll last now because we know the budget's going to be slightly less. That'll last until November the 26th. Chuck in the additional complication of the election of the deputy leader of the Labour Party, and those people may well acknowledge, just as everybody who deigns to take notice of it in the United Kingdom understands, that taxes will have to rise in the budget. Where will they come from? Name me a tax that is not anti-growth, and I'll give you a big prize. I can't think of one. But here's what will happen. So the contenders will start to talk about wealth tax. They'll talk about lifting the 2-child benefit cap. They'll raise taxes on banks, business, entrepreneurs. All those ideas will flow forth as the candidates for the deputy leader put their stalls up for the rest of the party to have a look at, and the Treasury will pretend to take notice of the more outlandish proposals and pretend to cost them, and the whole circus will continue for the next couple of weeks. So the only thing that you would buy in this country basically right now is speculation. Growth is something that we need from the budget on November the 26th. Does it mean a lot to people in the street? I doubt it very much indeed. I think that most people are worried about the cost of living. They're worried about whether the country is being governed properly. All these sort of things stop people spending, hence low growth.
And Michael, when we're talking about some of the drivers behind this contraction in growth as well, that manufacturing output is suffering as well. A big part of that is energy prices. Britain has the highest energy prices in the world, particularly in Europe, when we compare with our continental neighbours. And it was interesting, wasn't it, that reports suggested that the Prime Minister was struggling to move Ed Miliband out of his energy brief during that recent reshuffle. The government seems to recognise that energy prices are a big problem, that net zero might not be working, and yet they're not able to deliver a change on that front.
I think a lot of people hope that they do realise that, and feel that the move towards this target of low energy may well or may not happen by 2030. I think much more relevant is a company like Ineos, for example, which said earlier this week that it was thinking, because of the windfall taxes in the North Sea, of transferring its operations and its future investment to the United States, which is much more friendly to energy companies. We have not reached, I don't think we've reached peak oil yet. I think we'll continue to use oil for some considerable time, not just in powering the internal combustion engine, but more in terms of every other use that oil is put to throughout industry, which is huge. I mean, it's absolutely central to everything, and that is not going to go away. I think the problem is that you've got additional headwinds. You've got increase in employers' national insurance. You've got minimum wage. All these things are stopping people investing. And really, until we see the detail of the budget on November the 26th, speculation will continue and growth will continue to bump along the bottom.
And just very quickly, we've got the workers' rights bill as well coming down the pipeline, and I'm sure Andy Burnham is going to be championing that workers' rights bill, but businesses are really worried about it. The CEO of M&S has called it a political luxury that the government can't afford. Do you think there's any chance that workers' rights bill will be watered down to try and give businesses a bit of a leg up?
It ought to be watered down. I think there's a principle behind it which is very, very good indeed. The devil, of course, is in the detail. But if it's stopping businesses expanding, you make the following thought, don't you? That the only way in which we get growth in this country and we get taxes to fund growth and to fund infrastructure, yes, you can borrow, but the main thing is companies actually paying their tax. If you want to get in the way of that, by all means, get in the way of that. But that is the road to perdition.
OK, business commentator Michael Wilson, thank you very much for your time this morning. And still to come on Saturday Morning Live, what's going on at the Oxford Union? The organisation released a fresh statement last night. We'll get reaction from a former president of the Debating Society following comments made after Charlie Kirk's death.
But next, so Sadiq Khan has backed down to tube strikers as he confirms the union will receive a 3.4% pay increase after the Underground was ground to a halt last week. More on that and today's paper headlines up next.
And of course, we're going back to central London for more of that Unite the Kingdom rally with our reporter Doogie Beattie. Stay with us here on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live, and it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to be our biggest prize winner to date with a package worth over £104,000.
There's a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. And here's Hayley Sparks with all the details of how you need to be in it to win it.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, to look through the top stories of the day, we're delighted to be joined by commissioning editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and journalist and broadcaster Judita De Silva.
Right, let's start with this story just being released, actually, on the New Statesman. They've had an interview with George Barillonier, the president-elect of the Oxford Union, who's come under for a lot of criticism because he said Charlie Kirk got shot and then did an exaggerated laugh-out-loud word as well, Lara, didn't he? And he's got on to tell the New Statesman, basically doubling down on his statements.
I mean, this story goes from bad to worse. I think the thing we ought to remember here is that George has met Charlie Kirk in the flesh. He has stood feet across from him at a debating podium. And I know what Kirk is like. He's a very nice man who wants to debate. He's had that experience. And then upon hearing this, very, very upsetting news that this man was shot in front of his wife and daughter, he has taken to Instagram and celebrated it. He's given us some sort of fake apology, and now he's spoken to the New Statesman, and he's effectively recanted that apology. I mean, he's told this journalist, my words were no less insensitive than his. He believes that celebrating a man's death in front of his daughter is no less insensitive than somebody expressing their views on the right of the spectrum. It's a terrifying left-right divide.
Judita, I mean, there are some people who are saying that the head of the Oxford Union should now have to step down because of this. But, I mean, isn't that a free speech issue in itself? Surely those on the right shouldn't be calling for someone to be silenced.
Yeah, I agree with that you've got to practice what you preach. First of all, the blanket thing is, I've always said that if you have an issue with someone, have the issue with them. Once something tragic like this happens and Charlie Kirk is dead, it's done. You do not debate it anymore, it's done. So his post was senseless, and he probably should be suspended. There should be some disciplinary action to show that there's a boundary you don't cross. But at the same time, you have to have the actual conversation that's necessary, because what is happening, everyone's politicizing this event, which they shouldn't be. Because if anything, there should be a humanizing period based on the battle between the left and right. And something that's been really disturbing me is how you can see the right rolling out his widow like a tool.
Whoa.
And the thing is,
rolling out his widow.
Why
as a
on
tool?
earth am I seeing?
She's her own person.
No,
she's
wait.
spoken on her own.
Why am I seeing pictures of her on her husband's coffin? Leave her alone. Give her peace. Give her privacy.
Did she
Let
share that
her mourn.
herself? I think
no, she didn't. That's why
her own story.
That's why I'm
shared
saying
that herself.
We've had times in the past where people who have gone through these kinds of things, whether it's William and Harry, whether it's Jackie O, the PTSD they've suffered because it was so public. This lady needs to be protected at all costs and given privacy to go through what she's going through.
I think she's going to be protected without you criticising her.
I'm not criticising her. I'm criticising people around her, not giving her the protection and privacy that she deserves, because she's been through probably the most traumatising thing any human being could go through.
I think she's her own woman, and she's speaking very publicly on her own accord. And I think she also very delicately organises what is captured around her and her close team. But also, back to the Oxford Union. Now, they obviously have stepped away from the President-elect's comments. They don't represent the debating society as a whole. But in this interview with the New Statesman, Lara, he says that my words were no less insensitive than his, arguably less so. I had the humility to recognise when I strayed from my core values, and I addressed it immediately upon reflection. Why can't he recognise the error of what he said when he said it, and also go further than that and just apologise properly?
I mean, this man seems incapable of apologising. I mean, his moral compass is operating a terrible plane here. He has not at any point recognised, what are his words, that he strayed from his core values, unless his values are very, very horrendous. He's never properly apologised. Every time he said that he shouldn't have made that post, he's caveated it with a comment about how much he dislikes Charlie Kirk. And now he's effectively said that he's no worse than Kirk, a man who never wished violence on anybody.
Moving on, Sadiq Khan has offered a no-strings pay rise to Tube workers workers this week. I mean, surely that's a mistake. A 3.4% pay rise. They're going to come back for more, aren't they? And we're going to see the underground grinding to a halt again. Is he giving in to blackmail?
I think that it's playing a long game. It's under his watch. He's trying to do a concession now. So should they come back in the future, they look like the bad guys, because what has happened in the past week is horrendous. And under your watch, when you're talking about crippling the capital city, there's no way you can look good from any dimension. So he's trying to solve a problem quickly, which is probably why his head is over a barrel and he made this choice.
I mean, you can say that, but Wes Streeting made the same argument about doctors. We give them the pay rise, they won't come back. Hang on, a few months later, they came back for more.
I mean, just for context here, they got a pay rise. They got 4.6% in 2024, the end of 24. So it's been barely a year, and they're back bringing the capital to a halt. These people aren't going to stop. And what's amazing is they already looked like the bad guys this time round. I heard almost no sympathy for the tube drivers. But what they've learned is all they have to do is walk out for a week, which is very inexpensive for them, and they get 3%, no strings, absolutely no change to working conditions. It's no strings offer. It's ridiculous.
I've seen the RMT, they went up to bat online about this issue and people were criticising it. Some of my colleagues found themselves being quote tweeted online by the RMT saying, look, I mean, they're having to work longer hours and start earlier and finish later. But that's just shift work, isn't it, Judita? And they're being paid very handsomely for it.
The conditions they work under are not conditions most people would like. You have to concede that. And when you look at what has happened over the past few years, they do have an argument where you do need to meet them in the middle. But that whole point about being the bad guy already, that tone will change exponentially should they come back, which is what I think Sadiq Khan is playing a gamble on by conceding this time round. Because you have to be seen to recognise when people are telling you we have conditions of work that aren't normal to other people and really extenuous.
Is it a bit of a problem that Sadiq Khan is basically unopposed in London? London is such a Labour-leaning city that Sadiq Khan can sort of do whatever he likes and he doesn't really worry about his own position.
Yeah, I mean, first, lots of people do shift work. Lots of people work far longer hours than 35 hours a week and they are paid much less. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge issue. This sort of strike action, this sort of crumbling to the unions should bring Sadiq Khan down. But he's been this poor for a very long time and he's not been, opposed. He won't stand next time, I believe, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
OK, Lara and Judita, thank you very much for your time this morning. And there's lots more coming up on Saturday Morning Live. We've been talking about that story at the Oxford Union. We're going to get a reaction from a former president of the Debating Society after those bombshell comments to the New Statesman.
But first, let's get the news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. Downing Street officials were aware of damning correspondence between Lord Mandelson and the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein when Sir Keir Starmer defended the peer during Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. Mr Mandelson was sacked a day later after emails showed his relationship with Epstein continued after the financier's crimes had emerged. Andy Burnham's thought to be preparing a leadership bid amid speculation Sir Keir Starmer won't last until the next election. The Mayor of Greater Manchester has launched a new campaign group calling on the Prime Minister to introduce wealth taxes and nationalise utility companies.
His life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever.
Yeah, the widow of Charlie Kirk, the widow of Conservative activist Charlie Kirk's vowed to continue her late husband's work, saying his voice and legacy will remain. His suspected killer, Tyler Robinson, remains in custody following a 33-hour manhunt that ended when his father convinced him to surrender. Large police presence deployed in central London, where thousands of people are gathering for a so-called Unite the Kingdom march. Organisers are describing it as a free speech festival. The Metropolitan Police has urged Muslim Londoners not to change their plans. And the UK, along with Germany, France and Denmark, are to begin work on bolstering NATO's eastern flank. The move by the Defence Alliance comes after Russian drones violated Polish airspace on Tuesday. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 12.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thanks, Aaron. And yes, more to come on Saturday Morning Live. We're going to go to that rally that's ongoing in central London today.
But next, what's going on at the Oxford Union? The organisation released a fresh statement last night, but we'll get reaction from a former president of the Debating Society.
This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go anywhere.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's staying fairly unsettled through the course of today. There will once again be a mixture of sunshine and showers. Some of those will be heavy and pretty blustery, but generally tending to ease down a little bit later today. So we've still got low pressure in charge, centred to the north of the UK, but bringing in a flow of winds from the Atlantic, and these weather fronts will bring a focus for showers through this afternoon. Not everyone will see them, but there will be quite a number of them about once again. Some of those showers will be fairly heavy with the risk of some thunder, particularly further east as we go into this afternoon, perhaps easing somewhat towards the west. And it will still be quite blustery in those showers, so making it feel fairly cool as those showers come along. But in the best of the sunshine, temperatures once again 17 to 19 degrees, quite close to average for the time of year. So by this evening, the showers will starting to be becoming a little bit more isolated in the south. So there will actually be some fairly reasonable spells of sunshine to end the day across southern parts of England. For North Wales and North West England, there may well be more of a focus of showers this evening. So some more prolonged, heavier downpours, and again, still the chance of some thunder, as it will be across Scotland. Pretty unsettled to end the day here with a fair number of showers right the way through this evening and perhaps into the first part of tonight as well. But as we go into the early hours of Sunday morning, the skies will generally tend to clear, the showers will fade away, and many places will become dry. So it is going to turn into a pretty chilly night. In actual fact, we could even see a touch of frost in some rural areas, particularly across northern Scotland. Lows in the countryside here down to freezing perhaps in some of the glens. And even in the south, in the countryside, lows of 3 or 4 degrees perhaps in a few spots. But a lovely bright start to the day on Sunday. Lots of sunshine further east. The cloud fairly quickly thickening though from the west, and you'll notice this band of rain and strengthening winds pushing in from the Atlantic quite quickly through the morning in the west, and some heavy bursts of rain by the afternoon. Wind strengthening with Irish Sea gales and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Now, welcome back. There's been widespread outrage over the comments made by the President-elect of the Oxford Union, who has appeared to celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Now, George Barrionier, who met Kirk during a debate on toxic masculinity earlier this year, made the explicit comments on Instagram and WhatsApp.
In a news statement issued overnight, the union said that it does not possess executive powers to summarily dismiss a president-elect. However, the complaints filed against the president-elect will be addressed with the utmost seriousness.
Well, joining us now in the studio is the former president of the Oxford Union, Lord Moylan. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, delighted to be here.
Now, have you seen these latest quotes in the New Statesman?
It's getting worse and worse, isn't it? Yes. Well, can I say, first of all, I mean, this is a sideshow. The really important thing is that somebody is dead who shouldn't be dead, and his wife and family are grieving. And there are victims of political violence all over the place. I mean, this sort of behaviour on the part of Barrionier, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, it only contributes to that. And I think it's disgraceful. But I've got a very narrow view on this. I'm not calling for him to be sacked from the university or kicked out or rusticated or anything like that. I'm just saying, as somebody who still loves the Oxford Union as an institution that defends free speech, that you cannot be the president of the Oxford Union at the same time as revelling in the political assassination of the people you invite to speak at it. It is simply impossible for him to take over I think it's 3 weeks' time he takes over. For him to take over as president of that institution, he has to resign.
Could you not argue, though, that, you know, the Oxford Union does champion free speech? You can find what he said abhorrent, but he has the right to say it. And surely sacking him...
I'm not disputing his right to say it. I'm just saying he can't say it and be president of an institution which invites people to come and speak freely, implicitly saying that if you don't agree with him, he'll dance on your grave if you happen to be bumped off. Absolutely not possible. It's the reputation of the union I'm concerned about here, and he can go back to his university college, he can stay there, do his studies as far as I'm concerned, but he cannot be president of the union. He has to stand down, and it's a major crisis for the Oxford Union, which is going to have to weather.
The union has distanced itself from his comments, and obviously George has also issued what he's described as a self-reflection and a retraction, although some critics have said that, in fact, he's sort of doubled down on his original statements. But critics who are now resigning from the Oxford Union, including former President James Price yesterday in an open letter, they've pointed out to the fact that the particularly bleak element of those remarks seen on WhatsApp and Instagram was that he'd only just recently debated him and met him in the flesh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just impossible to believe that you could be so insensitive and stupid, and also so naive as to think you put something on a private WhatsApp group and it's going to stay private. I mean, where's this kid come from? Has he never done social media before? I mean, that's never going to stay private. So he should know what he's doing, and he isn't. And he's now doubling down on it effectively, as far as I can see. His original apology was, well, I'm very sorry, I shouldn't have said it, but I was right all the time. And now at the New Statesman, he seems to be saying that and charging up on it. I think, there's a danger here. He's doing this just for the notoriety.
Do you think there's a bit of a risk here that there are people who won't come to debates at the Oxford Union anymore because they worry that this sort of attitude will make them unpopular there?
Well, Andrew Griffiths, who's a shadow cabinet minister, has already posted to say that don't bother asking me. He's said, I've been asked before, but don't bother asking me again, because I won't be coming, at least not while this...
Is the problem wider than just Aberoni, though? I mean, is it a question... There are people saying online that if you look at his credentials of being at Oxford University, he didn't get the grades that you would normally expect to get into Oxford University. Is this Oxford becoming rather left-wing in itself, perhaps, the whole Oxford University becoming radicalised? Or is it just a question as if this man goes, the union's fixed?
I don't think his grades have anything to do with it. There are some really, really stupid left-wing people who would say this, who have got brilliant grades. The grades don't make any difference to it. The fact is, they've been inculcated with this rubbish and this hate-filled rubbish, and they think they're entitled to say these things and not apologise for them. He should have apologised swiftly, withdrawn the whole thing, and it might have blown over, but he's making it worse.
Of course, this does go beyond the Oxford Union, as you're just pointing out there, that there are so many people who have adopted this mindset, and a broader mindset. I don't know what this president-elect thinks more generally, but there are concerns, aren't there, spreading across the political atmosphere that in the celebration that many people had of Charlie Kirk's assassination, that there's now a rising tide of supporting political violence on the left, far more so than we've perhaps seen for generations.
I think I think everyone is concerned about it, and it's not just on the left. I mean, you have Islamist political violence, you even have right-wing political violence, and so on. The difference is, I think, that the left-wing political violence is defended. Nobody defends Islamist political violence. No one says he was a great guy for going out and blowing up this Jewish synagogue or whatever it might be. Nobody defends right-wing political violence, but when you get left-wing political violence, very frequently, not always, very frequently, you get people coming out and defending it and excusing it. And I think that's the big difference, and that's the worrying thing, that minds have shifted in that direction.
Is there a sort of worry that universities, British universities generally, are now just sort of shifting so much to the left? The Overton window in British universities has shifted so far that there are right-wing people, people not coming to the Oxford Union debate, for example. But what about sort of students of a right-wing mindset, school children who are now worried about going to university to express their mindsets? Are British universities still that kind of bastion of robust debate and free speech and political conversation that they once were? Or have they been captured?
Oh, I don't think they're a bastion of free speech and debate, and there are plenty of stories about both staff and, say, over the trans issue, where it's possible to have two views, shall I put it that way. But it's not possible to have two views in many university settings, especially if you're employed there. So I think that's been a problem for some time. What I think is interesting is that I think this pendulum, I'd hold on, those young people. I'd cling on. Don't give up faith yet, because I think the pendulum is starting to swing back a little bit. And I think some people in universities are realising that they've got themselves into an utterly crazy position where they've imported all this American nonsense they don't even understand half the time, and they need to start distancing themselves from it.
Lord Moylan, thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, the Oxford Union has released an updated statement last night. They said that we emphasise that these are his personal views and not those of the Union, nor do they represent the values of our institution.
At the same time, we're deeply disturbed by and strongly condemn the racial abuse and threats that the President-elect has faced in response. The Oxford Union does not possess executive powers to summarily dismiss a President-elect. However, the complaints filed against the President-elect will be addressed with the utmost seriousness.
I have to say, Liv, a lot of people talking about how political violence in the US is because they've got guns. I know there is a problem. We've got to get back to the fact that MPs have been stabbed by Islamists and also by far-right actors in Britain as well. This is a problem of mindset, not just of means.
Political violence certainly is on the rise. Well, still to come, we'll go back to central London, where Doogie Beattie is reporting on the Unite the Kingdom rally.
Yeah, that's all coming up later on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Stay with us.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst the weather across the UK is going to be very unsettled tomorrow, it's a different story across many southern parts of Europe. Lots of fine and at times sunny weather around, a few showery bursts fringing into both the northwest of Spain and also some far eastern parts, a few showery outbreaks for Italy and some heavy showery rain towards parts of Greece and into Croatia. But otherwise it's generally going to be dry for most and with some decent sunshine, feeling very warm indeed. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. How has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the, first of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you're working with your hands. It's definitely rewarding. experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, well, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The family farm tax has been in the news lately. But the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it. But as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live, and the Unite the Kingdom rally is currently gathering in central London, with organisers saying the event will promote traditional British values.
The rally will walk from Southwark to Whitehall, where a number of speakers are set to address the crowd.
Well, a counter-protest from Stand Up to Racism is also taking place, with more than 1,600 police officers deployed across the capital as they tackle football fixtures and this major demonstration.
Well, with us now live from Waterloo is GB News reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, what's the mood on the ground there? It looks like the crowds are really gathering behind you. A pretty sunny day, so we can expect pretty big numbers?
Well, the numbers are huge here now, and in fact, there's still thousands more actually coming down the steps in Waterloo behind us as they come in to join this protest. And the streets right down the back end of Waterloo, right down past the hospital, there is thousands and thousands of every flag from across the British Isles, and I do say the British Isles because there's lots of tricolours flying there as well. But the police, as you say, 1,600 of them are out on the streets. You can see just over to the left of me the snatch wagons, the arrest wagons, they're all there. But the police are very wisely keeping a very, very low profile, letting the stewards do their work so as not to spark off anything, any misbehaviour. But joining me now is some people that have travelled here. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good. Why are you here?
Well, just think enough is enough with the UK. We're fed up of illegal immigration. We're not racist. We're not against immigration. We're not against people living in this country and working. We're just fed up of everything that Starmer's doing.
Well, Keir Starmer, what will it take to put things right with Keir Starmer?
I don't want to answer that, but we just need to get our identity back. Me, as a proud Englishman, proud of my country, and now I'm ashamed of it. I'm ashamed. You feel ashamed to fly your flag. You're not proud to be British anymore. We're losing our identity as a nation. We're pleasing everyone else, but not looking after the people that live here.
Well, there you go. That is the opinions here on the ground. You can now hear the helicopters above us. This march is about to get underway. We think within the next hour or so they have had to put it back because there's still, as I've said, thousands and thousands of people arriving to join the starting point here before it moves off and down, eventually ended up in Whitehall, where we do think that those counter protests will be in place. But right here in the middle of this march, there is a fantastic atmosphere, very jovial, very happy, and really people just wanting to say, this is our country, this is our culture, you're welcome in, but please do not walk over the top of our own culture.
Thank you so much. Doogie Beattie on the ground there at Waterloo, attending the Unite the Kingdom rally. He'll be there throughout the coverage on GB News today, with thousands set to attend, Olivia.
Yes, so much colour from that rally today. It'd be really interesting to see how it pans out over the course of today. At the moment, it all seems very kind of family-friendly, people defending the flag. Let's see what happens there. But don't go anywhere, as Dawn Neeson is up next with The Weekend. Dawn, what have we got coming up on your show?
Well, hopefully as good as yours. Cracking show, by the way. We are, as you say, continuing live coverage of the Unite the Kingdom march. We'll be talking to the marchers. We'll be walking with them every step of that road, talking to all the people, all cultures and creeds that are on that march. We will also be talking to the anti-march marchers who will be there actually saying that everybody on that march is racist. You don't want to miss a single second of this show. We'll be bringing that live march to you for the whole show. That's all coming up very soon. We'll see you soon.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's staying fairly unsettled through the course of today. There will once again be a mixture of sunshine and showers. Some of those will be heavy and pretty blustery, but generally tending to ease down a little bit later today. So we've still got low pressure in charge, centred to the north of the UK, but bringing in a flow of winds from the Atlantic, and these weather fronts will bring a focus for showers through this afternoon. Not everyone will see them, but there will be quite a number of them about once again. Some of those showers will be fairly heavy with the risk of some thunder, particularly further east as we go into this afternoon, perhaps easing somewhat towards the west. And it will still be quite blustery in those showers, so making it feel fairly cool as those showers come along. But in the best of the sunshine, temperatures once again 17 to 19 degrees, quite close to average for the time of year. So by this evening, the showers will starting to be becoming a little bit more isolated in the south. So there will actually be some fairly reasonable spells of sunshine to end the day across southern parts of England. For North Wales and North West England, there may well be more of a focus of showers this evening. So some more prolonged, heavier downpours, and again, still the chance of some thunder, as it will be across Scotland. Pretty unsettled to end the day here with a fair number of showers right the way through this evening and perhaps into the first part of tonight as well. But as we go into the early hours of Sunday morning, the skies will generally tend to clear, the showers will fade away, and many places will become dry. So it is going to turn into a pretty chilly night. In actual fact, we could even see a touch of frost in some rural areas, particularly across northern Scotland. Lows in the countryside here down to freezing, perhaps, in some of the glens. And even in the south, in the countryside, lows of 3 or 4 degrees, perhaps, in a few spots. But a lovely bright start to the day on Sunday. Lots of sunshine further east. The cloud fairly quickly thickening though from the west, and you'll notice this band of rain and strengthening winds pushing in from the Atlantic quite quickly through the morning in the west, and some heavy bursts of rain by the afternoon. Winds strengthening with Irish Sea gales and temperatures around average for the time of year.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock on Saturday, the 13th of September, and this is the weekend on GB News. In the next hour, the Unite the Kingdom rally is set to march through central London. Organisers say it's about promoting traditional British values. Our reporter Doogie Beattie is there for us.
Yes, thousands and thousands of people have arrived. The protest has been put back to about 1 o'clock to facilitate how many more numbers are coming in and joining this march. We'll have more